Kevin, dude, thank you for joining us on the JK Experience today, man. I know you are a busy, busy guy, and we're going to go into all of that, but I appreciate you being on the show today, bud.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
So I know that we all know that real estate is absolutely insane and crazy right now. That just goes without saying. I'm curious, you right now, you're in 7 different counties within California right now, currently, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Something like that. Yeah, this is how insane it is. When it's that insane, as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, and of course, as an active real estate agent as well, too, like what does expansion look like for you? Are there great opportunities for expansion in the horizon of franchises and growth? Or is it simply just more of like, no, we just got to get more volume and we got to get more sales because of what's going on?
It's a really good question. I think with expansion, it's easy to say you're going to expand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's fun. It's easy. Everybody wants to expand, but you have to really have the right systems in place in order to be able to expand successfully. Yeah. Because expanding, what does it mean? It's easy. I mean, I can expand by going and buying leads in a new market. Now I've expanded, right? Like, what does it really mean? But if you want to really grow and let's say expand, to use the word a zillion times, you have to be able to build something that's going to be sustained over time. So with that requires a little bit of like taking a step back and making sure you have the right process and systems in place so that you're able to expand successfully. So it starts with kind of like working out. You seem like a guy that works out.
I do my best, man, every day. Got to do it.
What do you bench, bro? Like 475?
Evidently, the camera makes me look a little bit bigger, so I appreciate that.
So my point is, it's like working out. Like, it's how you approach it. Like, let's say you want to work out and you want to get to a certain point with your strength. Usually what I've always done is I try to get to, like, let's say 3 sets of 10 with the same weight before I move on to the next weight. Right. So I go 3 sets of 10 comfortably, and then I move up to my next weight. So it's the same thing with business. It's like, make sure you can get to a foundation of like strength where you feel comfortable, when you're in control. And then you get to a point where I can take the next step, which is going to the next level with whether it's weight at the gym or it's, weight or growth within your own business. If you're struggling to get 3 sets of 10, then you're probably not ready to go to the next level, the next weight, right? So that's what it is. And so, once you've got the systems in place, then it can be duplicated. You can expand. You can do not only in your own industry, you can start expanding into different businesses. Yeah. And so that's what really expansion means to me.
Well, you've done a phenomenal job of actually expanding not only your business, but obviously into other areas of the industry as well, too. Back in 2014, let's just kind of go back. You opened up your mortgage brokerage right there, right? Which was Marker Real Estate. And I'm just curious, so I know that just a little bit of your story is you were in the Valley. There were challenges, things going on. You kind of even questioned if you were going to stay in the industry, and you made that decision like, no, I'm going to a bigger place where it's probably even more competitive, probably even harder, but you're going to go and grind it and make something out of it. Well, tell me about that.
That's great, man. You did your research.
I did. I tried to, brother.
Thank you, man. So I was in the Central Valley, and I was very successful. Central Valley of California, which is, like Modesto. It's a very small town agricultural area. And just did really well. I got into real estate, was very successful. I worked for a big developer, became the #1 agent in the country for them. They had thousands of agents. And then, things were going great, but then the market crashed. And like you said, I mean, I was doing well, but I just didn't see light at the end of the tunnel, like it just wasn't looking very promising to continue doing business in a market that was the epicenter of the foreclosure crisis in the United States. Yeah. It's not really somewhere where I wanted to build my career. So at the time, home prices had dropped significantly. And as you know, in real estate, our income is a lot of times based on home prices. So if home prices go down, right? So the market adjusted tremendously, like home prices dropped big time. And so you know, went from this high flying, like super successful to like things changing very fast, and I had to change my business model. But I looked, and, you know, very, not very far from me, 90 miles away was, you know, one of the biggest, most successful cities in the country, arguably in the world, is San Francisco. And so it's always like this big city, you know, I had this little guy in big old city, San Francisco. It was a kind of a intimidation a little bit. I wouldn't, maybe that's like a strong word, but it was just kind of a big deal, big life shift. You know, it's like a monster that, you know, you're not, yeah. It's a beast, right?
Yeah.
So, but I felt like things weren't looking very promising where I was. So let's just say, if I'm going to fail, let me fail big. Yeah. Let me swing for the fences. Let me try to swing and hit a home run. So at least if I strike out, at least I swung hard. And I know I went for it. So that was the idea with moving to San Francisco. And I kind of started over from scratch. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any relationships. Didn't know anything. All I knew is that it's kind of like what we talked about earlier, which is the foundation, which I knew that I knew how to prospect. I knew I could believe in myself and working hard. I knew I could put the effort forth. And I thought to myself, you can be successful anywhere. I mean, if you can be successful somewhere, you can be successful anywhere. And another part of it was like always looking at, like, people would tell me I'm crazy and what are you doing moving to San Francisco in the most challenging times, like historically, financially, and we're in this big crash. It's like the worst time to move to San Francisco. And it's, by the way, one of the most competitive markets per capita, has, if not the highest, one of the highest agent ratios in the country. But what I always kind of fell back on was looking at myself and thinking about the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So what I've always done, and anything I've done, I've been at least average or better. Most of the time I've been okay. Like, I've done pretty well. So if I can be average or better in being in real estate in the Central Valley, or anything I've ever done at that, why can't I be successful if not being average or better in San Francisco? It's the same thing. We're all people. We're all human. It doesn't matter. Like, what's the difference? If anybody can do it, if somebody can do it, anybody can. Like, it's, even though it sounds cliche, but it's like true. We're all human. It's okay. Like, big deal, you know? So made the move and did really well. Started a company. Like, a few years later, it was on the Inc. 500 list. It's one of the fastest growing privately owned companies in America. And I think a lot of people just have limited beliefs. And the reason I think we have a lot of limited belief is because we live in a place of just pure luxury. And we have so many good things around us that, like, you don't really, I mean, it's just so easy. We have things so easy. And so we think things come easily. And we end up, like, I don't know, it's like a sense of entitlement a little bit, you know? And just not, I don't know. I just feel like having the mindset is incredibly important in wanting to be, and being successful in business, and just feeling like if you feel like you're not going to do it, then you're probably not going to. Yeah. And if you feel confident that you're going to get it done, then most of the time you get it done, you know?
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I'm curious, were you always a tech guy? Were you always techie? Was that part of your success in the Valley?
Good question too. Well, I grew up playing video games.
Okay. Sweet. So my kids have a good chance, because they love to play video games. So if they can follow that track, there's a good chance that they can kind of be like you, right?
Well, there's a lot of strategy, quite frankly. I mean, there's a lot of thought that comes into playing those kinds of games, man. Sure. Honestly, it's true. Like, setting up, like, if you play certain games, like, you think about setting up your settings, like strategizing on what players you're gonna put. So my background, I didn't go to college. I mean, I grew up really, we came from humble beginnings. So like my exposure was to things like this. When I had to use my brain, was to try to beat my friend or beat my neighborhood people to come over and play games with me. So I was always, honestly, I was the best kid at, like, playing Madden. I was really great at it, you know, and it was, but they tried their best. Like, they tried really hard. It was very important to people, right? To kids at that time. And, you know, there's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of mind games and thinking that comes in hand with playing those kinds of games. And so the settings and the way we set up our teams and things like that was the same thing with how we set up our business. it's the same thing. So I didn't really have any like really real training on it, but it was just very natural. And so I'd say the level of comfort that I had moving into the tech world and generating, spending, generating millions of leads now. Like we've generated hundreds of thousands, up to 1 million leads, sending out millions of emails a month. It's really, the foundation of that comes from the world of like gaming, which is crazy to even think about and say, but it's true. And so I felt comfortable getting into like spending money on online leads and digital advertising, and like because it was familiar. It wasn't like something new to me. So when my kids play video games, yes, I had this feeling of they probably shouldn't be doing that, but they're learning. I mean, it's their brains are being used and they're thinking, and they have to strategize and be creative. And so that was, I think, what helped me kind of be allowed me to be comfortable in business technology. And so now most of our business is built around technology. Like,
well, I think that's one of the reasons why like your brokerage has done a phenomenal job, obviously, in growth and expansion, is because you really are known as a tech real estate company, right? I mean, the amount of leads that you're generating for your agents is overwhelming. And one of the things that I love about what you're doing too is you're not just staying within those boundaries, you're expanding. And I know that you're part of Lab Coat Agents. You play an integral part of that. You've also got Real Closers, which you're the founder of that organization. And you threw it out this number, which I got to have you say this because I'm going to get it wrong, but it's so astronomical. Between those two organizations, how many agents do you have across the country that are a part of those two groups?
So between the two groups, it's like 200,000 real estate agents. I'm not the founder of Real Closers. I'm the owner of Real Closers, but yeah, I mean, we helped build both. Like I was involved with helping Tristan and Nick in Lab Coat Agents. They founded it. They've done a phenomenal job. And but I've just been there, involved and trying to help them grow and try to help both of those groups grow. Anybody that's part of the real estate industry should be involved in those groups, as far as I'm concerned, just because there's so much free knowledge and free information that's being shared. And it's just it's a great place to collaborate and exchange ideas. And yeah, it's a wonderful audience as well. And we've been able to, help other companies grow by exposing them to the audience inside those two groups. Yeah. It's just a great place to spend time and to learn and to network. Yeah. So yeah, it's fantastic.
One of the things that I think is always intriguing for people to understand, and one of the reasons why we started this podcast is that journey that we as entrepreneurs are on, right? Of that growth and expansion. And listen, right now, I know that there's a lot more that you want to accomplish. You have big goals, I'm sure, that you're not, that you're nowhere near accomplishing yet, just because, hey, as drivers, when we reach something like, okay, that's only one mountain peak and there's like 20 more that we're going to go conquer, and they're so much higher, right? Have you enjoyed the chase? I mean, has this been, I know it's hard work. We talk about the grind and we realize that, yeah, there are setbacks and there's failures, but like, has this been a passion project for you?
It's really a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that, we have the drive that it takes to be successful, the drive that it takes to become, an entrepreneur, an Inc. 500 winner, or whatever, growing your companies and having a certain lifestyle. It comes with like a certain amount of drive and ambition that I think a lot of us are born with that. Yeah. I do believe that it can be taught as well. And so, and it's great to have that because it keeps you going. It keeps me going. Like I get up and it's automatic. It's automatic, right? So that's the blessing part. But it's also a curse too, because if you don't, like for me, if I'm not busy, if I'm not growing, if I'm not focusing on being productive, if I'm not being productive, if I'm not, right? There's a lot of like guilt. There's a lot of, negativity that comes with it too, to be quite honest, right? Like, and it's just a matter of like harnessing that in a positive way so that I can continue to push myself and know that I'm doing the right thing and know that and also enjoy it, because I do enjoy it. But there are some other things too. Like, sometimes it's taken, you give to something, you take away from something else. Yeah. I don't believe there's like pure work-life balance and all that. Like, I don't know. For me, maybe I'm not in the right I need some better structure or something. But
Yeah.
it's pretty hard to be able to balance it all because, you know, like during the day, you want to spend time doing certain things. You know, sometimes you get pulled away. And I think I feel like you know the answers. I'm looking at you and you're like, you're ready to give me some counseling right now.
No way.
But no, I mean, you know, and then it's just a matter of like, again, it's structuring your time, structuring your day, structuring your approach to things.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I do think I have enjoyed it and I do enjoy it. And I wouldn't want it any other way. You know, this is the way that I was wired, and to continue to grow. And just, if I'm not working on something, it's like, I feel empty, right? Like, so I'm always, so in a way it gives me that built-in ambition.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's this misconception that we're going to find balance. And I think that once we can understand the fact that we will never find balance, but what we can do is we can start to create more balance in our life, understanding the chapter that we're in. And just as we've, you know, with you and your company, like, yeah, it's interesting. And I'd love to just talk to you about this one, is that, you know, 2014, you started Marker Real Estate, but you've also got twins that are about the same age. So I'm thinking that you probably had two boys that were in diapers at the same time that you're trying to grow and really like impact, because you were only in San Francisco for a couple of years before that happened. So, I mean, talk about balancing life in general, right? And trying to be supportive. And you must have a rock star wife too.
Oh man, without her, there was no way I'd be where I'm
right?
at. There's no way.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I mean, there's just so much that comes with having a great partner.
Yeah.
And somebody that's going to be there to support you, to like not give you a hard time. I have so many friends that have had just problems in their business because they're having problems with their partner, you know?
Yeah.
So I've been really, really fortunate and blessed with that. But you're right. You know, I think it's very important to step back and always try to look as much as you can, as difficult as it is, to try to look from the outside into your business, into your life, into what you have going on. I think I'm pretty good at that. Like I do that a lot. And I try to step away a lot and try to like look ahead and use the past to try to predict the future if I can. So with the business, I was like, you know, I was like 32, and I was very successful as an individual agent. And at the time I was buying a lot of leads, and I maxing myself out. And it was, you know, a lot of the growth that's happened with me has been very organic, like revenue-based organic growth. It's partly, I think, because of like my background and not really coming from a lot. So you kind of a little bit like, you don't want to, it's weird because it's like when you come from nothing, you have nothing to lose.
Right.
But at the same time, you come from nothing, you know what it's like to be there. So you don't want to go back to that.
And you're going to go back. Yeah.
You're careful sometimes with your decisions, you know? And so what I thought about was, so everything I've ever done has been revenue based. It's not like I'm going to go start this company. I'm going to invest, you know, $60,000 in the bank, and I'm going to plan out my budget and this. I've never done it like that. It's always been, I'm doing it right now. I'm an agent. I'm an individual agent. I think people will relate to this. Individual agent, I've gotten to a point where I max myself out. I'm working from 5 a.m. to, you know, 2 a.m., right? And I can't do anymore. So my next step is, let me find someone to help me, you know, what's this overflow of clients I can't deal with anymore. And so that's kind of how I've always done it. And so that was happening around the time I had my kids. But I also realized, stepping out and looking in, that I'm early 30s right now, but when I'm 60 or when I'm 55 or whatever age, I'm not going to have this, maybe, I don't know, but maybe I'm not going to have the same energy that I have right now. I wasn't sure. I don't know. I still don't know. Yeah. But I have to plan for that, right? So I looked ahead to think, okay, I'm doing great as an individual agent, but I'm killing myself with time. So how can I be available for my kids and like a life of a family man and all that when I'm putting up this much time? It's not possible. So it then kind of forced me to start a company. And so I started, and so that was the result of kind of the mindset that I had at that time. And so it was really just about stepping away and building systems so I can spend time with my kids. And also at the same time, empower other people and help them grow their businesses so that they can be successful. And maybe they want to do that one day too, or what, you know, so, and that's kind of like, that was my mindset when I had the kids. And so knock on wood, so far, like I've been doing okay, you know?
Yeah.
So since then, you know, I've opened up, started multiple businesses and just using the same mentality of like, okay, let me start something, let me build it and get to a point where, you know, step by step, I don't have to take big risks, you know? But I think there is some sort of an edge to a person that didn't really come from a lot.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like worst case scenario, what happens? You lose everything. You go bankrupt. You lose it all. I mean, I know what it's like to be there, and it's like I can deal with it because I've been there, so it's not that big of a deal. But at the same time, I know what it's like to be there, and I don't want to go back. So you push even harder. Yeah. So it's kind of like this weird sense of I don't know. It's like it keeps you motivated. It keeps you hungry. Yeah. So once you start losing that, that's what I was saying. When you start getting access to a lot, that's why when people, like one of the biggest struggles of a lot of friends I'm with, they're all super successful, right? The big problem that everybody has when they're at a certain level, when they're very successful, is getting lazy, getting complacent. Yeah. And so then it's easy to start slipping backwards or not going forward. You get stuck because you have it all. You have the lifestyle that you always wanted. Right. You know, and that's okay. Like if that's cool, that's cool. Because I think one thing we have to always be looking for, at least for me, is contentment. And it's hard to find contentment in a capitalistic society because you always want more and more and more. You've been trained to ask for more, always want more. And it's okay though. Like some people, like Donald Trump in his business world, the guys just keep going. Any business person, like any successful, whoever, Mark Cuban, I don't know. I'm not like political. I'm just throwing his name out. Yeah. But just think about capitalism, right? It's the mindset, the mentality of I keep wanting to grow, keep wanting to grow, keep wanting to grow, keep wanting to grow financially. And that's okay. To me, it's also about contentment. So at what point do I want to feel comfortable where I feel like, okay, I'm good. But I'm not sure I don't know if those two things can ever be possible together, but maybe they can. I haven't reached it yet, so I don't know the answer. Maybe do you?
Well, I think that you're pretty passionate. I mean, one thing that we don't want to ever lose is our passion, right? And I think when that security comes financially, there's a lot of freedom that comes with it. And we get to chase even more so the things that we're even more passionate about. And it's not about security anymore because we do have that, right? It's not maybe necessarily about generational wealth because we now can give that to our children in a way that we want to give it, however that is, right? But just be able to work in that flame work, right? The things that you're like, I'm okay with grinding for 10 hours on this. Like, that is awesome. I'm totally fine, staying up till midnight working on this project because it's something that I know brings life to my life. And that's what we're looking for, right? It's not just the grind of working to work because that gets old pretty fast and it does empty the tank, right? And it allows for depression. It allows for the anxiety that we face. It allows for midlife crisis. And I think once again, if you can stay in that lane, like what you're in right now, that you are constantly building that passion within those industries that you have, I think that's exactly where you want to be at. And as long as you're there, you just keep rocking that, right?
That could be the contentment part. Just being there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you lose it. You lose that passion. If you've accomplished something and it was never about like a greater achievement, then you'll definitely lose it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm just curious. So you have taken two, like basically really brand new businesses, right? From Marker Real Estate. And then of course your assistants with Lab Code Agents and Real Closers. And you have scaled those massively. Is there a connection or a correlation? Like, has there been something where you're like, if you just take this principle, you can do that just about in any industry. You can go from 0 to 200,000. And if you just take this principle or these couple principles, is there anything that you can share with us about what you think those might be?
Without like getting too detailed. I mean, it's pretty general. And it's if I say it, everyone's gonna be like, no, of course. Like, no. But
it's the obvious thing sometimes.
The most obvious thing. But I mean, it's just understanding how to generate customers.
Yeah.
Know how to get customers. Especially if you're in a service business. So I've always been in the service business, right? Like sales, real estate, whatever, financial services. So the person who's got the most customers, like that's it. Like if you can generate, if you know how to get customers, then you're always going to be busy, and you're always going to be like, that's the foundation. Like, how can I get people to want my product or want to talk to me? It's pretty much it. Like, and so just, and then there are some systems and ways, like processes in doing that, which I'd be happy to share. But most of what I do is like digital, and you know, just outreach and staying top of mind, and then being able to also go after clients and not being afraid to approach people and connect with them. And so just, it's a combination of like being in top of mind. And so like doing digital advertising, for example, and being top of mind with ads, and then being able to see who's engaging and then follow up, like basic. We can do that with any industry though. Like, oh, I started a handyman business. And the reason I started a handyman business is because what do people do before they sell their house? They typically want to fix it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me be the person they call when they want to fix up their house, and maybe they'll let me sell their house. So, and it's just the same approach that we take to getting buyers and sellers to want to work with us is the approach we take to reaching out to homeowners that want to fix up their house. And same thing if you are a masseuse. What are you gonna get in a person's mind that wants a masseuse? Put out some content that is relevant to someone that wants a masseuse, and then
right. yeah. So, it doesn't seem like rocket science, right?
No, and then that's it. And so I think that's like my one common denominator that I figured out is like, then once you're able to do that, you can do it with anything. And then from there, it's like, okay, then what do you do once a customer comes in? What's your process? And having like a written out process, like standard operating procedure. That's one thing that it's helped me like really start to scale, because now we're like white labeling our brokerage, and then like showing, you know, just basically white labeling. And so without being able to document our processes and our system, you're never going to be able to really go outside of yourself.
Yeah. We always do this. We never do this, right? When the lead comes in, we always do this. So it can be completely repeatable no matter who is running it.
That's it. And that's it. So if you're watching or listening and you want to like think about really scaling your business, start writing things down. Take it out of your head and put it on paper or put it on a Google Doc, you know, because then now somebody else can pick up where you left off. I remember learning at a very young age. I've been lucky to be around very smart people who've just like kind of taught, I've learned from, and you know, kind of in a way that it's not like I asked somebody to become my teacher. It's like we just ended up connecting and they ended up teaching me. And so like what I've learned is that anything that I do, I want to be able to leave, and a third grader can pick up what I left off. And there's no way I can do that unless I write it down and be very clear and basic and simple. So that's I think is very important if you want to scale your business. It sounds like super simple, and it's probably like, what is this guy talking about right now? Like, but it's true. Like it really helps.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, you went super high level on it, because I know that as you get into whatever that industry is, you have to know who your client is. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to figure out, right? You got to know who that avatar is. You got to know, you know, especially like if the more specific of a business that you have, you got to know who that person is and what they like, what they don't like, how they dress, you know, how they talk, where they're at, what their age is, you know, if they have kids. I mean, you can really dive deep into that and get specific. And when you get more specific, you have so much better results with it.
You have better results, and you also have usually a lot of times less competition.
Yeah.
Because most people don't break it down. And so like, let's say we said the masseuse idea, right? So like, okay, what kind of masseuse is it? Do they do like Swedish massages? Like, you know, so it's like, you know, so you just break it down until you get to a point where, okay, now I'm like the person in the neighborhood, in the zip code, in the street, and in the, you know, block. And I'm the person for that block, but I have 50 blocks.
Yeah.
So I do the same thing with every block. Right. So then it becomes, you become the go-to person. But I will say, so we're talking about becoming very focused and very like, say like focused and focused, very focused on a particular target audience.
Right. Or get your niche market.
Go deep on a niche, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think
mm-hmm.
at a high level, it's important to do that. Mm-hmm. But I think, and this might be controversial, but I think like starting out, I don't feel like we should do that. I don't think like a new agent, for example, mm-hmm. should like only specialize in one thing. You might disagree.
No, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, we're from a small community. And so it's like, you just can't work with buyers, or you can't just work with first-time homeowners, right? You've got to really understand the industry. So I'm glad you said that, because we were talking about, I'm looking at, niche markets such as the masseuse. I'm looking at other organizations, but yeah, as a new agent, no, you're like, you got to become a market expert in your market. Know that niche market, know the market and what the niche is in there. But no, you got to be able to service all the clients that are coming towards you, dude.
I agree. So yeah, I think you got to raise your hand for every opportunity.
Yeah.
Don't say no. Yeah. Like when you get to a point where like people are at your level, where you've got multiple businesses, you've got like properties, you've got a lot of things going on. You have to say no.
Right.
Like you can't afford to say yes to everything. You don't have the time. You don't have the time. But when you're starting out and you're new, you can't afford to say you can't afford to say no. Right. Like you have to say yes. Yeah. You can't. I'm sorry. You can't. My apologies. I meant to say you can't afford to say yes to everything at your level.
Right.
Because you're high level, you can't say yes to everything.
Right. I think to add on top of that though, like I don't have to say yes, but I've got an alternative for you. Like I can't do that right now, but I got a great person for you that's right here. Right. On the other side, when you're a new agent, when you say yes to something and you're not really good, you got to bring somebody else on with that, man. Bring in that expert and partner with that person so that you can learn. And part of the reason, of course, is obviously like great brokerages like yourself, great brokerages like ourselves, where we have that assistance. So you don't have to be the expert in it, but you can learn and you can still grow financially from those results as well, too.
Well, that's the whole point. The whole point is to learn. Yeah. So you want to say yes so you can learn, regardless of whether you do it on your own or you do it with definitely want to do it with somebody else, because you're going to bring in that expert who's going to show you the right way to do it, and you're going to service your client the right way. And absolutely. I mean, it's just about constant growth, constant learning. And that's the whole point with, even with these groups, is just about, getting out and collaborating with other people and having an abundance mindset. That's changed a lot over the years too. Recently, I feel like when I first got into the business, there was such a like scarce mentality, where I felt a lot of times I want to ask a question of a top producing agent in my office, and I get the cold shoulder. I feel like that's changed a lot though. Over the last like, at least maybe not, maybe just around the people I'm with, because I only surround myself with positive people and that are like, forward thinkers and willing to share and not scared to share their secrets and what have you. But I kind of get this sense. I mean, even if you look at even within the Facebook groups, the whole idea is to share and collaborate. Yeah. So I think that's becoming more of the norm, which is great, right? It's a great time to be in any business, particularly in real estate, because information is so accessible now.
Yes, no doubt about it.
Like I can do anything. It's just like the opportunities are so endless. Yeah. And part of it then becomes like, what do I choose? And that becomes an issue. It's like the options are so great that like, let me ask you, how do you deal with that? Like we have so many different choices to make. How do you decide what's the best option?
Well, I mean, let's go specific. So are we going to talk about real estate in the brokerage or something like that?
Sure.
Yeah. So honestly, the best way that I've found for me to make decisions is, what's our vision for the company? Like, where do we see the company going in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, right? And at least have a vision, because then it helps me identify the areas that we need to fill the gap in, or the areas that we need to grow in specifically, right? So if we want to grow, let's just say right now, we want to grow our agent count and we want to grow our impact. We want to grow our footprint. And so I'm going to look at the way that we can grow. Well, how do we get into these other counties and these other cities throughout our state? And one of the challenges that we run we have 500,000 people in this entire state of Wyoming, and you have 500,000 people in one block of where you're at, right? I mean, it's just crazy. So our expansion looks different than your expansion.
True.
Right. And so I can take these other models that people are using, but I do have to really change it in order for us to be able to get into these smaller niche markets. And then I also know, like, I know that when we go in another market, I can't do it based off of what other people's numbers are. I've got to adjust my numbers of what is going to be successful in that area. Meaning, like, if the brokerage is only doing, let's say 50 million a year, right, in total volume. Okay. Well, is that too small? Well, yeah. In a lot of our larger areas, that's way too small to even consider going into that area. Right. Well, for us, it's not that bad. And for us, it's actually relatively healthy because of the way that we can power that area and that location, and what we know that we can do to bring even more growth in that certain area. So it's really just evaluating for us those opportunities that we have. And then once again, and you said this, and I'm glad you said this, because I think people really, really need to understand this. It's about who you're surrounding yourself with, right? And not only your mentors, those people that have been there and done that, and they have that expertise and they're willing to share it and you're learning it. But I love the fact that you also surround yourself with other innovators and other forward thinkers, because when you have collaboration like that and you surround yourself with people that are like, yeah, you should do this. And hey, listen, don't take that left and take this right. It's amazing what happens when you start to trust people. When you have people, we give them authority in our lives. It's amazing what happens and how you can grow exponentially without the effort that it would take to do it by yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's really how I evaluate it. When I evaluate it, because I'm emotional. Like, I'm like you, dude, like passionate. Let's go. Let's go tear the door down. I'm curious. And this is a question I want to go back to you, is you say you do such a great job of removing yourself from your business. You take a step outside, because we all run into this, like, we can't see the label from inside the glass, right? It's super hard to do that. How do you remove yourself? Like, do you go on a 24-hour silent retreat? Do you get out of California and go to some other place because it's the best thing for you to do to get that? Like, what is your process of doing that?
That's a great question, man. I don't know. I'm always it's kind of like a thing that I do throughout the day. It's not like an event or anything. It's kind of I'm just doing it all the time. Anyway, so I'm always, even like right now, I'm thinking, okay, what am I doing right now? Is this like something that I want to be doing? And the answer is yes. I'm enjoying this a lot, man. Thank you, good. By the way, for inviting me. And so, it actually, even during the pandemic, was very important. And I mentioned it a lot to people when I was talking to them and doing like with different webinars and stuff like that, is it's very easy to get off track. So I think it starts with knowing what my goal is, and having that mission that you said, like, I know what my mission is. I know I can be successful or not. And and I'm always going to fall back on my mission when I have to answer a question. Right. Yeah. So, that's what I'm thinking about when I'm moving forward in my day, is what I'm doing right now, going towards my mission. And so during the pandemic, it was so easy for people to get off track, because it was a big adjustment that we had to make in our lifestyle. Like, people used to go to the office every day. They can't go anymore. Now they have to spend time at home with their kids, or, in their wherever, not their traditional way of doing things. And so it created a lot, people getting off track. And that's what I think about, like, people getting depressed and like a lot of negativity that's happened because of the pandemic. There's also been a lot of opportunity and great things that have happened too. Yeah. But, I think those people that did well have been able to stay focused, because it's so easy to fall off. And so for me, to answer your question, how do I do it? It's just, I'm always like just constantly asking myself, is what I'm doing right now what I should be doing? And it starts with, yes, I guess you're right. Like, going deep and thinking about what's your true like mission. And that takes time to think about. Yeah. So once I know what that is, and maybe I go to a retreat or go 2 days away in the woods or whatever, but like, it takes time to figure that out. Once you figure that out, the rest of it's easy, because then it's like the whip that keeps you back on track. Like, once you start going off track, it's like that little stick that puts you back in line.
Is it easy for you to say no?
No, it's hard for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's even though it may contradiction, right? It's a little bit of a contradiction.
No, but I think I thank you for being raw with that, because we often know what the right thing to do is. It's often really hard to do it.
It's hard to do it.
And especially as drivers, especially as leaders, we just listen, we got big shoulders. We're just going to keep taking more and more on. We can do it. We're wearing that weighted vest of responsibility. And so it's not okay if everybody else does it, but it's okay if we do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just keep saying yes to all these projects. So I was just curious to know if you become very disciplined in that, or if you haven't, how are you working on becoming more disciplined and saying no to more things?
I'm usually, for myself, I'm easy at saying no. I'm disciplined within myself. Mm-hmm. Right. But when other people ask for stuff, I'm always like trying to like say yes. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I'm still asking myself, is this the right thing to do? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So I might say
constantly
yes.
Constantly
evaluating. So if I might say yes, but then I might be like, hey, this is not really what I want to do, so I'm out of here, Mm-hmm. But it just comes back to like the drive and knowing that I'm going to be moving forward. I have a certain direction and certain thing I want to do, certain, like, even though it's probably, it's a little vague, but I have a vision of where I want to go, what I want to be doing. Right. And for me right now, it's more about just setting up my kids so that when I'm gone, like, they're good. So that's like the biggest thing, but before that, I think it was more just getting away from the growing up bad, and not like I had a loving family and everything was great, but just didn't have a lot in terms of this materialistic things.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so then the beginning was trying to get things. And then now it's like making sure my kids are safe and they're comfortable and everything. It's crazy. I mean, it's just, I'm just being real, man.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Well, that's what we want to hear, man. I mean, that's the thing is, once again, I love talking to people like you on this show, because I think oftentimes we look at people's success and we just try to monetize it, right? We just look at that financial success and say, okay, that's awesome. I really want to go for that. And it's really good for people to hear the reasons behind the success. Yeah, the money is great. There's no doubt about it. Money allows you to do a lot of phenomenal things in your life, security and future and generational wealth, all that stuff. That's great. But there's so many other, like, that is just a small portion of it at the end of the day, because of everything else that you become during that process. And I think people need to hear that. They need to hear more and more of that story of what it takes to do that, but also just the passion that you got to have behind it. Because if you're not passionate about it, who gives a crap about how much money you're making? Because you're just going to live a miserable life. And you know this. I mean, once again, you've got people that are in your world. I got people in my world that you're just going, dude, like, that's phenomenal. You got all those zeros in your bank account, but I wouldn't take your life if you gave me everything, bro.
The problem is we're just surrounded by so much. It actually takes much more discipline to not chase after that thing.
Yeah.
Way more discipline, to do that than to say, you know what, I'm going to be true to myself and I'm going to go to the thing that I'm going to be most flamed about.
Yeah.
Where it's much easier to, like, go after whatever that everyone else is going after.
Yeah.
And I just feel blessed that I think the thing that I'm going after is what I really want, because I feel good, like,
Yeah.
But again, see, it's that self-evaluation I'm pulling out, and I'm always asking. It's always like, it's important to ask yourself if you're on the right track, and we're all human. Yeah. So I don't claim to have all the answers.
Yeah.
And anybody that does, they're not telling the truth.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that too, because people need to hear that. Yeah. There's all these gurus out there, right now, especially in our spaces right now with social media, technology. There's always a lot of people out there that are trying to tell you that they know exactly what to do, exactly how to do it, and how they're going to get you there. And at the end of the day, my man, I'm telling you, that the one thing they can't do for you is to do the work.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing, I mean, if you find people that are really successful, they're always learning.
Yeah.
They're always looking to somebody else to show them the way, because it's not about ego. It's just about, if you're true to yourself and wanting to get to a certain point where you want to be, it's very difficult to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult, that I've seen from like with successful people, at least the ones I know, they're usually non-egotistical, like always, vulnerable. And they appreciate and understand that it's okay to be human. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be uncertain. Like, it's like it's uncertain, everything that we do in our life. Our life is uncertain. And so making big decisions and taking financial risk, it's okay to feel anxiety and stress but it's really just about then calculating that and calculating the risk and feeling as confident as can possibly be that you're making the right decision. But at the end of the day, I think we always end up having to take a bit of a leap of faith, no matter how good we are, how many times we've done it. Like, there's still that little bit of risk. But that's what makes it fun.
It is. Absolutely. And it makes a life worth living, by the way. But, if you look back at the greatest moments in your life, they always had some type of risk involved. There was something that got you a little bit scared. That got you a little puckered, right? And those are the best stories.
They are the best stories. They are the best stories, man.
Yeah.
They're totally the best stories. Yeah. It's so true, man.
Yeah. Well, man, I tell you what, I have really appreciated getting to know you more on this. It's been fun to hear your story. Obviously, I always knew you were a passionate guy from the last time we talked. So it's just fun to see that drive and to see that everything that you've done to create all this success around in your life. And once again, when I say success, I'm just talking about the life that you've created. I love the fact that you're just so passionate about your family and that next generation for yourself. And obviously, you're serving a tremendous amount of people on the stage and the platform that you have. And it's just so great to have good people like you, great leaders like yourself leading that way. And especially in our industry, we know it's a tough industry. We know we don't always have the best of reputations, but with people like you leading the way, it's awesome to have you, man. So thanks.
That's very nice to hear, man. Thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate you allowing me to jump on, and for all your, wonderful audience. Thank you very much. And hopefully, I'm sure we'll be seeing each other in person.
Yeah, I know, dude. I'm looking forward to it, man. We got to meet up with Sharon, and we got to get out there to California for sure.
You got to come out, man. It's nice to see you out here.
I know, dude. Seriously, it has been, it's summertime right now. So this is the time, like, you don't leave Wyoming. Okay. So you're more than welcome to come out here, but come like the middle or the beginning of the year, like January, February, March, dang right. We're hightailing it out of here for a little bit. So, I know, buddy. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for being on the show. And we'll definitely be talking more. And if you're listening to this, I highly recommend check out Lab Coat Agents. Awesome platform. They've got great content and they've got tremendous value. And Real Closers, the same thing. I tell you what, guys, I've researched it. We are very aware of these two companies, and I'm excited about where we're going with them. And I hope that you, as a real estate agent, if you are looking to level up, if you're looking to get to the next success in your career, you cannot go wrong with these guys and gals, man. They've got some amazing things. So, Kevin, thanks, brother. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, bud.